Hello everyone, this video is going to be about the act of protest and the effects it has under democratic institutions. I am not a very protest friendly person. It's not that I'm against protests altogether. I do think from time to time, and depending on how they're done and where they're done and why they're done, they can be useful. I think for like on small local levels, then or even at like the city-wide level, I do think that protests can be useful. I do think they can get things done. I think for things that, you know, are more, I would say, easily changed, I do think protests can work, and I do think they can be efficient in bringing about political change. But on larger things that affect, the nation, and also on like international levels, no, I don't think protesting is all that useful. It can still be, it can, but I don't think that's necessarily the best way you should go about advocating for change. I actually think that you would have much greater results by just harassing politicians, constantly calling their number, um, wherever they work at. You can protest there, but just scream into their office building. But that's one thing I've noticed about a lot of protests. They're not very loud, unless it's a lot of people. They're not very loud often, and they're not persistent. They're not persistent. If you're going to protest, you at least have to be very loud and persistent. You have to be very dedicated. You have to be honestly kind of jobless to really get anything done. But I say all this to say, under certain circumstances, protesting just becomes foolish. And there's a video I actually want to show as to why I have this opinion, and I'll play it right here. And so I show you that to ask the question of what exactly is going to get done by doing this, right? I mean, this was a protest that happened in Sydney, Australia, and apparently I think 300,000 people partook in it. But what is really going to change? Is it a show of support for Gazans? Because that's what the protest is about. It's about Palestine. Is it a show of support for Gazans? Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess it is, yeah. They were marching. But what exactly is going to get done? What's going to be accomplished? Nothing. Gazans are still going to be starved. Israel's still going to drop bombs on them. What is really going to get done? Nothing. Nothing's going to get done. And so I saw this clip like 2 or 3 days ago, and it was late at night. And I've had this opinion for a while, like years at this point, maybe like 5 or so years. But what is the point of protesting for like national and like international issues? What is the point? What are you doing? If you want any sort of political change, you have to understand that just holding up some signs and marching from one place to the other, that's not going to get anything done. As I said, maybe on like a local level, or maybe even on a state level, then, or state or provincial level, then maybe. Sure, maybe it could happen. It could. But on a national, international level, it's not going to. And it's just delusional, and I would say actually kind of weak to think it will, because now these people get to go home and think they really fought for something. But they didn't. All they did was, I mean, they put themselves through like some hours of discomfort. It's not pleasant walking for miles, holding like up signs, surrounded by a bunch of sweaty people in the sun, for hours. That's not pleasant. So, I mean, it is definitely some sort of struggle. It is some sort of sacrifice, but it's nothing really tangible. It's nothing you can really see. Okay, they did that. What is going to get done? How is this going to improve the conditions of Gazans? It's not going to. It's not going to. And I think this is the point I wanted to make. I made this video to essentially criticize democratic institutions and their promotion of protests. The way I see it, democracy slows down the process of history by deluding people into thinking that their opinion actually matters in politics, where they really don't. The average person's opinion doesn't matter in politics. There's a very few elites whose opinion actually matter, right? And those people are typically lobbyists who can pay to have what they want done. But if you don't have the money to essentially buy out politicians to get what you want done, then your opinion doesn't matter. You're worthless. You don't matter to them. They don't care what you have to say. Uh, Maybe they'll do slight things to appease you for some time being, but all in all, they don't care about you. And that's the thing that I don't think people who believe in democracy really get that. Like, they'll say, like, oh, the government doesn't care about us, but they still kind of act as if they have some sort of care. And they don't, I don't know what it is, but it's like they don't really get that. Like, they say it, but they haven't really internalized it. And they don't really know what that means. They don't really take that opinion to heart and really delve into and grasp what that means to live under a governmental structure which literally does not care about how you feel. That's essentially what democracy is. And I would say that all forms of government don't care about how their people feel. I think it's just in varying degrees. But I would say that under democracy, when people do believe that their opinions matter, it slows down the necessary processes of revolution that need to occur so that the state doesn't keep decaying further into a worse form of itself. Under more, I guess you could say, authoritarian or dictatorial structures, people quickly realize that their opinion doesn't matter and that they don't, that they can't appeal to some sort of sense of humanity with their oppressors. And so it makes the likelihood of revolution and of mass uprising more likely and makes it more immediate. Whereas under democratic structures, it prolongs it. Because people are just saying, well, we protested for this long. Why haven't we got this done? Okay, or next election, we'll just vote for this person. We'll just do that. And they don't get that that's not how it works. They don't care. They don't care. And the worst part is maybe you can get a politician on your side who cares. Maybe you can. Maybe there's a politician who runs with good intentions. They want to do what's good. They want to do what's right for people. But when they get into office, they realize how much is stacked against them. And, there's a lot they really can't change. They don't have the institutional power to just overhaul the system completely. So sometimes there just needs to be complete and total revolution to just wipe the slate clean. But under democratic structures, people don't realize that. And I say this, and this relates to the video I sent because what we're witnessing is Western governments basically backing a genocide, right? Backing a complete ethnic cleansing of Gaza. And I mean, I feel like if there was a reason to start a revolution over, this would be this would be a reason. This would be a reason. I mean, knowing that your politicians are signing, bills, which is sending money and weapons to a ethno-nationalist nation, right, that is committing genocide on another population. I feel like that's the reason to start a revolution. I feel like it is. But the whole thing is that so many people have bought into the idea of the nation state and of democracy that they can't even imagine using force or violence against their own countrymen. And I think that's the issue. That's part of the issue. Democracy pacifies people into thinking, well, let's just appeal to some sense of logic or humanity or human rights. And human rights is another thing I have to address. Those don't exist, but we can get to another time. And as I said, it just slows down what needs to be done. I'm not necessarily advocating for anything in this video. I'm just voicing my opinion. You can take it however you want. I'm just saying, but I think people need to let go of this whole idea of just civility politics. Like if you see that your opponent is willing to go to a certain level, sometimes you have to be willing to match them and go wherever they're at. I see no shame in that. Stop trying to appease people, but especially stop trying to appease literally the worst of people. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you for watching.